Air Vice Marshal Abid Rao from Karachi, Moshraff Zaidi is columnist, is joining us from Islamabad, and Mayad Ali is chief reporter of the newspaper. From the Indian side, we have Sheshadri ChariConvenor of the Foreign Affairs Cell of the BJP, General D Bakshi, editor of the Indian Military Review, and Mahesh Jethmalani, senior advocate. Thank you very much. General Bakshi, could this be any accident at all? It doesn't appear to be so. You know, it appears to be a deliberate attack on civilian targets.
Arnab, absolutely. You know, there are some indications coming in that Arnia itself, if I recall that area, is beyond the range of the battalion level 81, 82 millimeter mortars. And if it has been shelled by mortars, there are indications that Pakistan has escalated to the level of 120 millimeter mortars, which is an artillery weapon. And that is a huge, huge escalation. And the surprising and the pitiable fact is that those 120 millimeter mortars have been fired at a crowded civilian colony. You know, where there was a birthday celebration taking place of some children, and one poor girl and somehow got killed, her friends got injured. I mean, this is atrocious. This is unspeakable. And it has happened, Arnab, on the day of Eid. You know, our BSF troopers went to offer the Eid sweets to their Pakistani counterparts. They refused to accept those. And on the contrary, they have replied by firing on the day of Eid, when we thought there should have been even just a natural ceasefire on purely, you know, the consideration. So
obviously, you see,
Islam.
Obviously there is a
deliberately target civilians.
There is a paranoia which is set up on the Pakistani side, which is making them lose their sense of balance. I would like to ask either Moshraff Zaidi or Mayad Ali Khan, whoever wants to take that why would you target with heavy artillery firing civilian targets which are 5 kilometers from the international border? Just for your information, there was a young girl celebrating her first birthday. She suffered severe splinter injuries. A 13-year-old girl was killed because of the intense shelling and the firing from the Pakistani side, and 2 women were killed among these civilians who died here. Why is Pakistan targeting civilians? That also on the day of Eid. What is the great strategy here?
Arnab, there is no strategy, because the entire premise of what you're saying is based on what you've been fed by the Indian Army, without giving any consideration to the press release issued by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the actual situation on the ground, which is that 4 Pakistanis, including 2 children and a woman, and all 4 of whom, one was a 60-year-old man, all 4 of whom were completely innocent civilians, have been killed on the Pakistan side. So without going into whether there's any truth to the allegations on the Indian side, why would you not want to go into,
why would you not want to, my question to you would be, because let me share some facts with you, and by the way, by the way, Mr. Zaidi, because Mr. Zaidi,
because unlike you, I'm not going to set this up.
Yeah, because
I'm not going to set this up
Mr. Zaidi,
with a deliberate provocation.
Mr. Zaidi, please understand this.
You are well within your right.
Mr. Zaidi,
you are well within your right to make whatever claims you want, but you need to include the claims that have been made by the Pakistan side.
Zaidi, I am not in the...
If you're a real journalist, Arnab,
yeah, but Mr.
Of course you are.
Mr. Zaidi,
if you're in the business of flagging the flames of conflict, then you should continue what you're doing.
So, Mr. Zaidi, I am not in the business of if you've completed. I am not in the business of fabricating facts, but I'd like to share some facts with you, and if you have the patience to listen, because it will serve you well to listen to these facts. You see, now you listen to me, Mr. Zaidi.
There are 4 Pakistanis that have died.
Okay, so I'll share some facts with you, Mr. Zaidi.
4 Pakistanis have died.
I'll share with you, Mr. Zaidi. And by the way, we have...
Do you acknowledge that 4 Pakistanis have died?
Mr. Zaidi...
Do you acknowledge that 4 Pakistanis have died?
Mr. Zaidi...
The beginning of the conversation was Pakistan cowards and Pakistan deliberately starting this.
So, Mr. Zaidi, I'll tell you...
Do you acknowledge that 4 Pakistani civilians have died?
Mr. Zaidi, you see any...
Do you acknowledge that 4 Pakistanis have died?
No, Mr. Zaidi, I don't. Because you don't have the facts and I do.
I know how to play your game. You have to... No.
Now you want to continue without listening to the facts. Mr.
I'm not
Zaidi, you see what has happened
I'm not
is...
challenging your facts. I sat here and listened to all of your
No, you are
facts.
not listening.
Now I'm asking
now,
you to
now you're not
acknowledge
listening,
one
Mr.
simple
Zaidi.
fact
Now I fear that you are not wanting to listen because you're worried about what I might say. But I would request you to please listen with a sense of reason and sagacity today. I would like you to listen with a sense of reason and sagacity. And my question to you is, long-range 120 mm mortars were used by the Pakistani army in the latest attacks. Nobody knows today why would anyone use 120 mm mortars if not with the intention to target civilians who reside deeper into Indian territory than right at the international border. And the fact of the matter is, Mr. Zaidi, that there is something called if civilians become collateral damage to firing. But there is some completely different fact to targeting of the civilians.
Why did India attack why did India deliberately target 4 civilians?
Yeah, and now hear me. We finished what point you made? Now I'll tell you. Now listen to me, Mr. Zaidi. Now listen to me, Mr. Zaidi. Just listen to me 1 second. Arnia is the place where the firing took place between 11:30 p.m. and 7:30 in the morning, this morning. 5 civilians were killed. That also on the morning of Eid, which is reprehensible. This is a full 5 kilometers from the international border. Listen to me now, please, okay? Now you know you're not listening again, Mr. Zaidi. What would be the point? Mr. Zaidi, please just keep your calm and your composure and here today. 2 things. One, it is full 5 kilometers from the international border. And the second point is that 120 mm shells are used. So, unless the Pakistani army is a bunch of dysfunctional fools who don't even know where to shoot, why would you shoot 120 mm heavy artillery mortar right into a civilian territory which is 5 kilometers from the international border? That is called a targeted killing.
I'm asking the same question.
Now the second answer to your question is, if you say that civilians on the Pakistani side have been killed, every country reserves the right to hit back. Secondly, and it is not hitting back and collateral damage is one thing, but targeting civilian targets is completely and totally unacceptable unless you believe in a code of conduct which no civilized country actually believes in. That is simply the point which is being made here. You have to,
in the same code of conduct
we
believe in the same code of conduct you believe in.
Listen
One
to
of the problems with
today Pakistan, you see, Mr. Zaidi,
is that somehow...
Okay, so let's get some others to also come in on you, because I thought that the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court, Section 8B, says well about attacks on civilians or non-combatants. And I am willing to challenge you fact for fact and measure for measure on how you attack our civilian targets. So we can take you to the International Criminal Court for the manner in which you are targeting our civilians.
We bring it up because
and by the way,
dispute.
You go back to the dispute point now, is it? I mean, that's really now going to be hollow ground.
You're the one
Mahesh Jethmalani, when the facts are put here. Now listen, Mr. Zaidi, listen. Now listen. Now you know I want to tell you, you talk about India attacking Pakistan civilian areas. Let me tell you, sir, there is a man called Sartaj Aziz. Okay, this man Sartaj Aziz lands in New York. And you know one thing he says there? The moment he lands in New York, he says, we have never committed any ceasefire violations. Pakistan's Foreign Affairs Ministry is not the most credible source. It is in a state of permanent denial. And Sartaj Aziz says when he lands in New York, we have never carried out any ceasefire violations. You believe that?
We can play this game.
Do you believe that?
Come home, Arnab. We can
Mahesh Jethmalani
till the end of your
Mahesh
show.
Jethmalani and Sheshadri ChariConvenor, I'll come back to you. Mahesh Jethmalani, please. What I've just told you there is, that is a simple counter to you. Your Ministry of Foreign Affairs claims that India has attacked Pakistan's civilian areas. You are in a state of perpetual denial. Sartaj Aziz 10 days ago, right before Narendra Modi landed in New York, said we have never committed ceasefire violations.
The facts, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, facts don't matter? Okay, fine. Mahesh Jethmalani.
No, facts do matter. But
now you say facts don't matter. Come on, Mr. Zaidi, please.
Then we won't actually... We'll never get to a resolution.
What resolution? You continue to lie on what you do. I've just proven that Sartaj Aziz lied in New York. That's why I don't believe a word of what you say out there. Mahesh Jethmalani.
I'm not Sartaj's.
Well, now you'll. But he is your government.
If you have a
How can
problem
you
with
say I'm not
Sartaj, you need to
Sartaj
take
Aziz?
it
But
up with
he is in
him.
your government. He's the advisor to your Foreign Affairs Ministry. He's the advisor to your Prime Minister.
Fine.
You want to distance yourself from
So
your
ask
government?
him, if you have
Come
a
on,
question.
sir. Mahesh Jethmalani.
No, not at all. If you have a question for Sartaj Aziz, you need to ask Sartaj.
I'm saying because you kept saying that you target our civilian areas too. I said you are quoting your Foreign Affairs Ministry, and I proved to you that your Foreign Affairs Ministry lies.
You did not.
Lies
your
through and
entire
through.
show's basis is based on deflecting and denying the simple
I just
fact
proved to you.
that 4 Pakistani
I just
innocent
proved to
Pakistani
you
civilians
why
died
I
this morning.
don't believe your Foreign Affairs Ministry, because Sartaj Aziz lied 10 days back in New York. The whole world was laughing at him when he did so. Mahesh Jethmalani wants to counter you now. Mahesh Jethmalani, go ahead, please.
Just the 22,000
Mr.
Indians.
Jethmalani, please, quickly,
Zaidi,
please.
now,
the whole world.
Mr. Zaidi, you've had a long stay on this. Please don't filibuster and monopolize this program.
Come on,
Hear what we have to say as well.
Please.
Arnab, we are sick of the
please.
Pakistanis and their spokesperson coming on television and crying hoarse about how they are either victims of terrorhood or terrorism, or their own people have been now victims of the Indian army. I mean, this is all of a pattern by way of excuses now, that they are really as much victims of things as we are. Now, let's look at it in historical concept. The Americans have branded the LET, the JUD, and the ISI with the Haqqani network that as all being responsible for sponsoring jihadi terrorism, for making Kashmir a jihadi playground, and for sponsoring terrorist attacks. So, attacks on civilians at the behest of the Pakistani state, the real Pakistani state, that is the Pakistani army and ISI, is now not only legion, but has been accepted by their allies, their once upon allies who are disillusioned with them, the US government. There is now a bounty on Hafiz Saeed's head, and he roams about freely, including recently in Azad Kashmir. So let's not take these Pakistani cries of victimhood seriously anymore. They are all contrived. It's contrived propaganda.
No, but
and
sure.
Arnab, please look at the timing of this whole.
Okay, well, Mahid Ali wants to come in. I can see him disagreeing with you there. But Mahid Ali, fact is that if you want to believe the spokesperson of your Pakistan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, then I'm sure even you don't take him seriously. And that's the person who Moshraff Zaidi was quoting all through and through. It's a bit of a joke, your Foreign Affairs Ministry.
You see, it's not, it's very unfortunate what has happened recently. It's very unfortunate that so many lives have been lost.
Why are civilians being targeted? My question is, what kind of a cowardly army kills a 13-year-old girl? Which kind of a cowardly army targets the house where a 1-year-old child is celebrating her birthday on the day of Eid? I want to ask you, what kind of cowards in the Pakistani army do that? With 120mm guns 5 kilometers from the international borders. That's my question to you.
Let me, okay, fine, it's your question. First of all, let's not use such harsh words for each other in this
Well, I call them cowards. What's harsh about it? I call the Pakistani army cowards. What's wrong about it?
See, it happens. Yeah,
you have any better words to describe an army which attacks with 120mm guns the house of a 1-year-old child on the day of Eid celebrating her birthday? You have better language for them?
So sure. First of all, Arnab, what makes you so sure that it was a 120mm gun?
Because we have the shells of the 120mm guns, sir. They didn't come from outer
Arnab,
space.
now listen. I have listened enough of you. Now you listen to me. So you haven't gone there. You haven't seen it.
My reporter has gone there. We've seen it. We've shot it. What more do you want? You want us to get you forensic evidence?
Come on. Now, I am a reporter myself. Will you let me say something?
Yeah, but don't say, how do you know it's 120mm guns? Come on. You know that fact, Mahid Ali. You know that fact.
Do you know that
120mm guns? Yes, sir, we can make out the difference between 120mm guns and others.
I know a little bit about these things.
Yeah, so 120mm mortars, when you use 120mm mortars, you don't use it for any other reason but to kill.
Come on, it's not a mortar. First of all,
they are long-range 120mm mortars used by the Pakistani army.
You should know that. Arnab, you don't know. Arnab, it seems that you don't know the technicalities of the whole thing.
What technicalities? You're using 120mm long-range mortars. What are you doing it for? Fireworks? We have visuals, we have fireworks, we have pictures. What more do you want?
It has happened to Pakistan. It has happened. nobody is condoning anything now. Listen, if we want to talk it out, let's talk it out.
What's there to talk?
It has happened to Pakistan. It has happened to our side of Pakistan. It has happened to our side of Kashmir many times.
No, why would you attack? You answer. Why would you? How dare you attack our civilian targets? My question to you is: this is, how dare you attack our civilian targets? You can't take on our army, so you take on, some innocent villagers 5 kilometers away.
We can, Arnab, we can take on.
No, obviously.
We can, we have, and we will.
This is, Mayat, in what circumstance this is happening? This is happening in the circumstance after your Prime Minister going and making a mockery of himself at the UN General Assembly when nobody even listened to him. The international community did not even listen to him.
Will you listen to me, or you'll keep on talking? Will you listen to me?
Sure, I'm listening to you, but you've got to understand what's happening here. It's pretty serious, Mayat.
I understand that, and it's very unfortunate. I said, wherever there's a loss of life, it's
not wherever.
I'm not condoning
Not
it.
wherever. This is in Indian territory on Indian civilians.
Of course, our civilians have been killed here. I know many times. I've been there. I've seen those families. You see, it's not the point. Let's begin and let's start something very positive from here.
What positive? You see, Mayat, all these are words out here. I get Sheshadri Chari. You see, let's start positive, let's not feel bad, it happens, etc., etc. Last 5 days, 6 innocent civilians, Sheshadri Chari, have been killed. 35 have been injured. 35 of our civilians have been injured, out of which several are, I am asking you what we don't want. We don't want this unprovoked firing on our civilians. 35 injured, several are critical. Okay, a 13-year-old girl has died. A 1-year-old child who's celebrating her first birthday lies in a hospital fighting for her life. That's what we don't want.
We've also...
And is it our fault that nobody takes you seriously at an international level anymore? Is it our fault that Nawaz Sharif could not make an impression in New York?
And that's totally unacceptable. You see,
Sheshadri
that's
Chari.
totally unacceptable. No. Look at what you've been telling. Look at what you've been doing. Look at what PM Modi's been doing. Starting from
Mayat Ali Khan.
Good gestures for having a friend, for having a friendship. He has moved on.
This is the...
Are you with me?
No, you see, I am very much with you, but I don't think I'm getting your line of argument anymore. Sheshadri Chari, what is the alternative now? We keep saying we want to engage. These attacks have been increasing and have been becoming more and more frequent. What is our alternative now, Mr. Chari?
Arnab, there are 3 aspects to what is happening now. One is the military aspect, one is the strategic aspect, and one is the political aspect. We all know that not everything is hunky-dory in Pakistan. Islamabad is in great turmoil, and Pakistan army is known to fish in troubled waters. That is exactly what they are doing as far as Islamabad is concerned. They are supporting Tahirul Qadri, and they are also supporting everyone who is opposed to Nawaz Sharif. They want to destabilize Nawaz Sharif, but at the same time they don't want to remove him from power for another 1 hour. They want to teach Nawaz Sharif a lesson that if you want to do anything to keep peace with India, remember, if Pakistan and India remain peaceful and as friends, the Pakistani army will become a bunch of literate, highly radicalized, unemployed group. So they don't want to lose their unemployment. That is the main concern that they are facing today. The military aspect is, after another 15-20 days, the winter will set in and they will not be able to push in any infiltrator into India, and they will not be able to destabilize the coming elections in Jammu and Kashmir. That is the second issue. And the strategic issue is, they want to show to the whole world that we can do anything to India, but India is afraid of escalation of war.
So that's exactly the point I'm asking you, sir, that what are we going to do? Are we going to wait for the winter to set in? Are we going to wait for the winter to set in?
You've already done.
Let me tell you now, the Pakistani army should realize, the Pakistani army should realize that Indian army can bloody well take any amount of escalation. We can lick the Pakistani army through. Let Mr. Zaidi not make this mistake. I am warning you. I am
It
warning
serves-
the
it doesn't
Pakistani
serve
friends.
Pakistan's interest. We don't need a
will
warning.
do
We have
what
no
we did
interest in fighting with
1971.
India.
We
We have too many fights at
do what
home.
we did in
Why would we pick a
1971
fight
to you.
with? Why would we? Mary Jaan, why would we pick a fight with India when we have so many issues at home? It makes no sense.
I can
no,
see-
Well, then
I
why
mean,
were 120 mortars?
I am telling you, Arnab.
No, 1 second. One
I
minute.
don't
No,
understand
1 minute.
myself, Arnab.
General
This is why
Bakshi,
I'm asking you.
1
I'm
second.
asking you, have you
Mr.
asked
Zaidi,
questions of
Mr.
India?
Zaidi, that
Why
is
would
the
Pakistan do
sentiment.
this?
What Mr.
Why would
Chari is
Pakistan
saying
do it?
represents the
Are we
sentiment
here
of the
to start
people
a
of this
war?
country. We have had enough. We as a country have had absolutely enough. Your problems are your own. You can't run your country. Your democracy is at risk. You have a
Fine.
puppet
So
prime
we're trying
minister.
to-
You
so
have
we're
an
trying
army
to
that
run
is
our
going
country.
amok. The fact
So
of the matter is,
why has your army killed four innocent Pakistani
you know,
civilians
Mr.
today?
Zaidi, can I tell you, you can go incinerate yourself for all we care. But the fact is, you use long-range 120 mortars to kill an Indian child.
We would love it if you
and
left us
5
alone.
innocent other
Arnab, we
Indian
would
civilians.
love it.
And
We
we
would love
believe,
it if India left
and
us
we
alone, but
believe
you
that
don't.
only the
every
most
initiative-
dastardly of
every
cowards would
initiative
do
that we
something
take
like that
is
to
pushed
settle
back.
scores internally
your names-
by killing Indian
calling me
children.
names, you calling
You
Pakistan,
want to
it's not
settle
going to
scores
provoke me.
internally. When
Mr.
you shot,
Zaidi,
when your
and you
army
want to
shot that
provoke-
120
want to
mortar, did
provoke-
it not
I
know
want
that
to
innocent
provoke
women and
civilized way.
You've got the
children
wrong
would
guy.
die on the Indian side?
No amount of name
Mr.
calling,
Zaidi,
no amount of
this is
name
not a
calling would
civilized
provoke me,
way.
and no amount of name
There were
calling,
two- there
no
were
amount
two
of name
flag
calling will
meetings.
get me to change my
There-
view.
you see-
Pakistan and India must have normal
you see-
relations. We must have peace.
No, this is
We must
no way
condemn
in
the
which
loss
you have
of life
normal
on
relations.
both sides,
Who is
and we
talking
should
this?
move
This
forward.
is- this is-
There is no
relations.
way
We are
that
talking
your
about
name
normal
calling will
relations.
change
You know,
that
Arnab,
standpoint.
What kind of-
this is, Mr. Zaidi, Arnab, can I come in?
Yeah, General
Arnab, can I
Bakshi.
come in?
Go ahead, General Bakshi.
You know, Mr. Zaidi, I like the air of injured innocence that you are projecting here. With due apologies, your country has adopted the use of non-state actors to kill unarmed, innocent Indian women and children in the cities of India. For God's sake, you were watching Pakistan TV. You were watching Geo TV when that gentleman called, Arnab Amil Kasab was on a shooting spree in a railway station in the crowded metropolis of Mumbai. For God's sake, you saw it. You saw that your pattern of targeting is to kill
and we
Indian
condemned
citizens,
it. We
Indian
condemned
civilians,
it. We condemned
unarmed
it
civilians.
without
saying this to you.
qualification.
And for God's
we
sake,
stood against
now we are
it.
having
We
the same
condemned
from
it.
your army.
We stand against
I
it
know
today
we-
as well.
we would not
We
like
stand
to hear
against it
this
today as well.
hypocrisy.
There is
You must understand.
There is no
My dear
hypocrisy.
friends,
We
Mary Jaan,
strongly
you
condemn
must
it.
understand.
I'm on the record.
You must understand
I'm on the record
that the
on this.
people
I don't.
of India are
You can
sick
keep
and
shouting.
tired.
You know, this Nawaz Sharif,
We
you
can
know
keep
what
going
happens
on
is,
this.
no, 1 second, Abid Rao, I'm coming to you. Let's get
You're
Abid Rao.
preaching to the choir.
You see
You're
Nawaz
preaching to the
Sharif's
choir on
speech,
Mumbai.
no, 1 second, Nawaz Sharif's speech at the UN, that litany of his, which I will not make any politically incorrect comment like, but the fact is that he tried to internationalize the Kashmir issue and he failed. This was nothing.
The
Mr.
Kashmir
Abid
issue
Rao.
is an international issue. It
No,
is the
1 second,
oldest
please.
outstanding
Now you want to make it
resolution
an
at the UN
international
Security
issue.
Council.
You can discuss the
It is
issue
an
like grown
international
men,
issue. It's
not
between
like
two countries. It's an
wayward
international
rowdies who go around firing 120 mortars into Indian
your
homes
name
and
calling-
killing Indian
your
children.
name calling is
And
not
you
going to
think
provoke
no?
me.
I'm telling you think
Your name calling is not
this
going
is
to
not name
provoke me.
calling. It's a fact. I am saying the Pakistani army is behaving like a bunch of wayward rowdies. It's a description, not an
It is a
insult.
fact. When you fire at a birthday party, Mr. Abid, Mr. Zaidi, it is a fact. And Mr. Zaidi, for your record, I am telling you, Arnab, please let me say this. Mr. Zaidi says that Pakistani Foreign Ministry has put out a press release saying that Indian army fired at civilians in Pakistan. It is absolutely wrong, absolutely not based on facts. But let me tell you one thing, even if it is wrong, if it is true that Indian army has fired on civilians in Pakistan, I feel sorry about it. Please ask Mr. Zaidi, does he feel sorry about what Pakistani army has done to Indian civilians?
I feel
Is
terrible.
he prepared to condemn the Pakistan army right
It's terrible.
now?
It's tragic
Can he
It's
condemn the
tragic and terrible.
Pakistani
That's where we
army
started.
right
Every
now?
human
And
life,
Abid Rao-
Indian life, Pakistani life, Muslim life, Hindu life, all lives are valuable. We must start with this, and that's why I was asking Arnab, instead of starting off by calling names and calling the Pakistan army names, calling Pakistanis names,
Mr.
why don't we
Zaidi,
acknowledge
please
that
tell me,
4
please tell
Pakistanis
me,
also
can
died?
you-
So all I was asking
do you
for
condemn,
is that
do you
Pakistanis
condemn?
and Indians are both human.
No, Mr. Zaidi, please speak. No, I am not prepared to listen to you for even a minute. Please tell me, do you condemn Pakistani
Then what are we
army's
talking
action
about?
or not?
Do you condemn the BSF and its
Pakistani
killing of
army
innocent
action or
Pakistani
not?
civilians? Do you condemn?
I place on record.
Pakistani
I
civilians?
place on record. I place on record
it
that
is true,
Indian
it is
forces.
wrong.
No, 1 second. Let us be clear on facts, Mr. Zaidi. This is a news program.
Yeah.
Indian forces hit back. Yes, we
Sure.
hit back with small arms and mortars for 1 hour. Okay, the Indian army
Four civilians died. Four civilians were
has
killed.
not targeted Pakistani civilian
I'm not
centers
arguing
as
that.
retaliation.
I'm not arguing who was
Pakistani
targeted.
army
Do you-
posts
do
have
you
been
condemn the
targeted
loss of life
and they
on the
will be
Pakistan
targeted.
side?
Pakistani army posts
you-
will be
there you go.
targeted.
There
And
you
they
go.
will continue to be targeted till the
That's it.
Pakistani army
So-
does not
so
learn a
you-
total
you're-
lesson
I am
and is
not
not
here to
punished
feed your
for
blood
what it
loss.
has made Indian civilians go
Every
through.
loss of life is
Pakistani
tragic.
army
Every loss of life
centers
is
will
tragic.
continue to be targeted
Pakistani
measure for
families-
measure till you don't stop doing what you're doing and you don't
Mr.
learn a lesson
Zaidi,
for it.
Please be frank. Please be frank, Mr. Zaidi.
All I asked you-
on this
all I
program
asked you was, do
right
you
now,
condemn the loss
right
of
now,
life on the
do you
Pakistani
have the
side?
guts? Mr. Zaidi, do you have the guts to condemn the Pakistani army right now? If you don't have the guts,
Do you have the
admit
guts to
that you don't
condemn
have
the
guts.
BSF? Do you have the guts to
Yes,
condemn
I
the
have the
BSF?
guts.
On Times Now,
I'm
on
condemning
Arnab
that.
Goswami's
The
show.
BSF has not targeted Pakistan civilian areas. The Indian army has targeted
Of course it
the
has.
Pakistan army.
Four Pakistani
And
civilians died.
don't
Of
read
course
out
it
the
has.
fiction put out by a foreign
There's
affairs
two
ministry.
parties. It takes
1
two
second,
to tango.
I'm coming to you,
It
Mahesh
takes two to
Jethmalani, but
tango,
Abid
Arnab.
Rao.
It's not.
Abid Rao,
You
is
can
this some
keep
serious
trying to
engagement?
demonize Pakistan.
Is this serious engagement? Is this what you're going to stoop
No,
down
it's
to?
not. It's a joke.
Is this the
It's a
only way to
joke.
try and get India's attention? I mean, we have generally decided, it appears, India has decided to ignore the Pakistani
Get attention.
and
We wish
ignore
you
the
would leave us
Pakistani
alone,
army,
Arnab.
but
We
to
wish you would
seek
leave us
India's
alone.
attention by killing small children on the day of Eid on the Indian side.
First of all, let me say,
this is
Arnab,
sick.
now
This is sick.
just listen to me. I
Sickening.
mean, you don't have the patience to listen. First of all, I am surprised how much does Pakistan Army haunt you all, that for everything that goes wrong, you want to call them dysfunctional, you call them fools, you call them coward. When 2 or
what
4
do you call
civilians have
people
died,
who do this?
what would you call Indian Army when they have killed
Why don't you
130,000
come on,
Kashmiri
Arnab, let him
civilians,
speak.
raped 50,000 women,
Sir,
burned
you know-
30,000 houses? What
Sir,
are you
you are-
talking?
sir, you
I
know
mean,
what?
Don't
You-
let this
you-
be a comparison
you want
between
me
the
to-
cowardice
Give us
of
a
Indian
break.
Army and Pakistan Army.
You know-
if you want to solve the issue,
Marshal, give
then
us
this
a
is not
break.
the way you're going to talk.
Marshal,
No, listen to me,
Marshal,
then.
you know, I'll tell you
people make
300 and
wrong
let
statements
me
and you
tell
insist on
you,
that.
no, you want to
Since
talk about human
January
rights
last
violations.
year,
In
you are harping on the
2012,
same thing, that
325
Pakistan
members of the
Army is
Shia Muslim
firing.
population
Pakistan
were
Army is
killed
not the
in
one to
targeted
initiate.
attacks that took
It
place
is
in
always
Pakistan.
Indian Army
In Balochistan.
endorsed was
In
my foreign
Balochistan,
minister
hundreds
said.
of people
He
were
is
killed,
absolutely
mostly from
right.
the Hazara community. You
are
want
not
me to
ready
tell you about
believe what
human
wrongs
rights
have been done
violations?
by your
I am
army.
discussing the
This is not
ceasefire
the way to solve
violations.
the issue.
I am discussing the ceasefire violations. Are you willing to
Hazara
debate the
wants to-
ceasefire violations or not?
Please
You
don't
want to
talk
tell the
about that.
world.
Then let's
that
bring an end to the
Pakistan is
ceasefire.
a
Let there be no
powerful country.
ceasefire then.
We have the means to defend
you have so
ourselves.
many separatist
It is
movements
in
there. Come
Pakistan
on.
Army which has held you at
If
distance.
you feel-
if Pakistan Army was so
Abid
covered,
Rao, how
Pakistan would have been
unfortunate is
invaded
it?
by you.
How
Listen to me,
unfortunate
Arnab,
is it that
you
a
have said too
seasoned
many wrong
military
things
man
today,
like you,
and you should say sorry for that.
how unfortunate is it, Mr. Abid Rao, that a seasoned military man like you, who I thought had some
No,
humanity in
but
his
you
heart,
make
should
so
be
many wrong and loose
celebrating
statements.
the
not
fact that
willing
the
to-
Pakistani army killed a 13-year-old girl on the Indian side. How shocking is it?
And what have you done?
How
If you have
shocking is
taken
it
a
that
revenge,
you
what are you making
are you
noise
willing
for?
to debate ceasefire violations with
You
me
have
tonight?
taken a revenge. So
Are you
if
willing to
I
debate
can say
ceasefire
that, then
violations
the
with
matter
me
is settled.
tonight?
From this kind of jingoism.
We haven't done any violation.
God
Let
save
me say that.
Pakistan and God save India
I
from
am.
this
My
jingoism.
ears have become immune to this. That you are only saying Pakistan is.
So where did those mortars come
since last
from? Outer
18 months.
space?
It is Indian Army who does all this provocation.
Oh, so the Indian
Let me
army
say that
shot it
now.
itself. This is ridiculous.
No.
Army kills Indian civilians.
They fight first and Pakistan Army is attacking.
So what are you talking about?
This blame game.
Mr.
I'm surprised at your
Mahesh Jethmalani, Sheshadri Chari, D Bakshi all want to counter you. Mahesh Jethmalani
This
first.
language is not acceptable from an Indian. Let me say that.
Sir, let me tell you, sir, the gross violations of human rights. Sir, the gross violation of human rights in Pakistan occupied Kashmir. The gross violation of human rights in Pakistan occupied Kashmir is also not acceptable.
What are you doing?
The manner in which the Shia community is tortured in your country is not acceptable.
How many people has your
The
army
number of
killed?
Baluchis you kill is not acceptable.
India doesn't look nice talking about
Please understand
human
that,
rights.
sir.
So
And
look,
if you,
any state where
Sir,
you
in
have,
any case-
what have you done to Sikhs? What have you
sir,
done to
there is
Christians?
no
What have
third-party
you done to lower
intervention
caste
that is
Hindus?
going to happen.
Leave
You
alone
can keep
Muslims.
trying to do this. I'm only telling you, sir, like a civilized country.
You don't want to talk logic, you don't want to talk sense.
Sir, then nobody wants
it is
to talk to
allegation
you.
versus allegation. This is
I
not
think-
the
I
way
think-
to
I
settle
think
matters on
it's going
media.
nowhere, please. Arnab,
Well, I mean, I don't know.
going
I'm
nowhere.
telling you the
Actually,
clear
it's going
facts
nowhere.
here. And by the
Arnab,
way,
do
yes,
you
Mahesh
want this
Jethmalani wants to come in.
conversation to
I'm
be
talking about the ceasefire violations, which we think is unacceptable. You can talk about everything else.
You know,
Mahesh Jet-
Arnab,
Mahesh Jethmalani,
you know,
please. Mahesh
Arnab,
Jethmalani. Mahesh Jethmalani first.
Arnab, we should not get into this trap of talking to our Pakistani guests on the fact of whether this incident took place or not. We all trust our government, and we have to look at the facts. First of all, there is Pakistani mortar shelling proof. Secondly, there is no reason for the Indian government to lie. We have no agenda. Thirdly, it is the Pakistanis who've been trying to internationalize this whole episode. You saw what Nawaz Sharif did. You saw our response
It is
when we said
already
we are going to cut off
internationalized.
talks because they met
Anywhere
Soviet
in
leaders.
Europe, when you talk
And
of
the
India,
real-
Pakistan, Kashmir comes in.
And-
America says Kashmir
and
is a
Arnab,
nuclear
Arnab.
flashpoint. What else do you want to
Arnab,
know?
there is a method. There is a method
General
to this
Bakshi could have
madness,
said it
Arnab.
was a
The
tactical
inflection-
nuclear weapon that has killed 4 people in India. For God's sake, have some balance in your approach. Have some decency in the language that you use.
We don't talk balance to imbalanced people. Anyway, Arnab, the fact of the matter is the real inflection point, because there has to be some method to this madness as to why ceasefire violations have been going on for the last 15 months. But the escalation has a reason. There's a method. And the real reason is because the Indian army, whom the Pakistanis have been at pains to try and paint as an occupying repressive force, has turned out to win appreciation and kudos with the Kashmiri people after the floods. Pakistan's entire propaganda against the Indian army has collapsed to the ground. They are desperate. That's why they want to internationalize the issue. And when that has failed because of Indian-American strategic talks now leading to success in an anti-terrorist front, they have escalated border violence. That is the plain and simple truth. Look at the matter in its context. They are the ones who need to put Kashmir on the international center stage.
And if there is
they are the ones who would kill civilians.
And if there's anyone
by the
who
way,
you should
the Pakistani army is a rogue army. The Pakistani army is a rogue army which has repeatedly, for the last 2 decades, killed innocent
Yes, Mayad
citizens
Ali.
through its proxies,
No,
the LET and the Haqqani faction.
I'm glad my army
One
wants
thing,
you
my
so
friend,
much.
one thing,
I'm
please.
so happy.
Your army is a rogue
listen
army,
to
and
me.
you people who support it are rogues following that army.
At least India must realize that.
Sir, Marshal Abid Rao, what you must realize is, and I'm saying this, I'm going to Sheshadri Chari, what you must realize is even a single Indian child's life matters a lot to all of us. What you have
us
done
also our children's
you
lives
must
matter.
we have not targeted civilian centers. You are targeting civilian centers.
You have killed 4 people
you are
today.
targeting
2
civilian
children,
centers.
1 woman and 1 man.
And the second point is that when Sheshadri
if you
Chari
don't believe me,
speaks,
why should I believe you?
sir, because I've shown you the facts. Can you tell me which is the specific area, the point, the district, and the
RTV
name
has
of the
shown the
person
facts.
killed?
I don't carry the
You're
films.
claiming that they're
Where is the? Give me the details. You have no details with you tonight. You're reading out some Ministry of Foreign Affairs statement, just like Sartaj
My
Aziz, who
2
says we never carried out
children,
any
1
ceasefire
woman
violation.
and 60-year-old man has died today.
What, sir? Please, you know what? It is not in any civilian.
When
It is not in any. It is not in any civilian area. There is no targeted killing of civilians.
Arnab,
You are killing our civilians in a targeted manner.
You
And I
cannot
request you to understand that when
settle
Sheshadri Chari
by
speaks,
only accusation.
Sheshadri Chari is the
you
convener
go
of the Foreign
beyond
Affairs cell of the
limits of logic
BJP.
when you talk,
He's not a
on
rookie.
these matters.
He's not a rookie. When he's speaking and when he's sending out a clear warning to you today, why don't you get the message, Mr. Zaidi? that this comes from a
I am
very
part
senior
of-
Indian political functionary.
Let
Zaidi.
me speak once, you know.
No. Hear from Mr. Chari, then I'll come back to you. Mr. Chari wanted to add something there.
Arnab, I only want to tell my Pakistani friends, I know they may not understand Sanskrit as much as we understand in India, but there is a saying in Sanskrit, Vinasha Kale Viparita Buddhi. When God wants to destroy you, the first thing that He does is He makes you do certain berserk. He liquidates your brain power. He makes you a total wreck as far as brain power is concerned. And you lose all sense of proportion and priority. This is exactly what the Pakistani army has done. It is for people like Mr. Zaidi, Mr. Abid Rao and such people to stand up and support the political establishment which really wants to be friendly with India. I support them, and if they want to really do business with India, they want to talk to India, they want to be friendly with India, they are welcome. But that is exactly not the script that the Pakistani army wants. And let me tell you this time,
We've been trying to support.
God forbid,
We've been trying.
God forbid, Mr. Zaidi, God forbid, if this incident escalates, I am warning you, that will be the end of Pakistan.
That's a clear word, and hear it. Sheshadri Chari's voice matters. He is the convener of the Foreign Affairs Cell of the BJP, and I'd like to tell you this, gentlemen. Sheshadri Chari is a man of great reason. And if like a lot of Indians, you must get the sense here,
I
sir.
don't need to raise to the bait.
Sir, you just need to understand one thing. You don't need to rise to any bait. We're not putting baits out. But you dared to send a 120mm mortar to kill an Indian child, to kill Indian women, to kill innocent civilians. If you continue to target our civilian areas, you will have an answer that you will probably not forget in a long time. I think this government's intention is very, very clear. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us on the Newshour Debate tonight.